I need advice on how to approach a conflict between my sister and my family. My sister was having a lot of trouble with her husband. He left her and was living with another woman in another state and was not taking care of their daughter at all. My wife and I stepped in and helped with whatever my sister needed during this time. My wife was my sister's closest confidant during this time, and my sister had my wife read really graphic conversations between her husband and this other woman, which made my wife really uncomfortable around her husband. Then, like 6 months passed, and my sister and her husband patched things up. His father died, and the fantasy that living with a different woman would somehow be perfect faded into reality after those 6 months. My sister was basically demanding that everyone welcome him back into the family immediately and treat him with the utmost respect. My family sweeps everything under the rug, so most people went along with it. My wife was supportive of my sister getting back with her husband, if that's what she wanted to do. But my wife did not feel comfortable around him and said it would take her some time to be. First, almost immediately after he came back, we were having a family party and said we didn't want him to come over. My sister snapped. She started rage texting, calling my wife every name in the book and saying she wasn't going to respect my wife if we couldn't respect her husband. My wife felt my sister was projecting her anger that she was feeling towards her husband on us because they never really dealt with it. They just pretended like it never happened. My wife was also super pregnant and had a disability that was causing her tremendous pain during her pregnancy, so she was at a point where she just didn't want to deal with the drama. Fast forward a couple months. We hadn't talked to my sister or resolved anything. My sister never reached out to apologize for going nuts on my wife, and we didn't reach out either, so we didn't invite her to our baby shower. We really just wanted to avoid drama. You will read how well that went in a minute. Up until this point, we had avoided seeing each other anywhere. We made sure when we went to my mom's house that my sister wasn't around. On this particular day, maybe a week after our baby shower, we missed a text from my mom saying to wait to come over because my sister was almost at her house. We arrived at about the same time, and my sister lost her mind. She was pissed we didn't invite her to the baby shower, and she was not handling her emotions well. We were inside my mom's house and in front of her daughter and our other niece. She was screaming profanity at my wife. She charged at my almost 9-month pregnant wife who needed a cane to walk at the time. It was aggressive to the point where my mother and I had to restrain her, and then she told my wife she hoped she loses the baby that day, basically saying she wanted my daughter to die because she was very much capable of living outside of my wife by that point. My wife stayed calm and did not escalate with my sister. My wife was trying to put the kids in a separate room so they did not see my sister going insane. My wife almost called 911 when my sister ran at her to assault her, but we managed to leave. Afterwards, my sister continued to snap. She threw a metal water bottle towards my mom's head and put a hole in the wall. My other sister was studying for one of her graduate classes when my mom called her and told her what was happening. She was scared for her young daughter who was there and called the police. Fast forward 2 years, and my sister has never met my 2-year-old. My wife made it clear after this happened that she has no interest in ever being around my sister again because she believes she has an undiagnosed mental illness or, at the very least, needs some serious counseling, anger management. She does not believe that my sister is a safe person to be around our children. Recently, we found out we are having another child. My crazy sister reached out through my other sister with a long apology via text because we refused to see her and we have her blocked. Now that she apologized, I'm hoping we can at least get on a civil level so we can see our niece. However, with my wife being pregnant again and with what my sister said about our daughter, my wife has made it very clear that she does not want to have any interaction with my sister or have her around our children unless she gets psychological help. My wife doesn't care if I talk to my sister if I want to, but I don't know if my sister will let me take my niece to meet my daughter unless my wife makes an effort to talk to her too, or allows my sister to see my daughter. I'm just not sure what the right move is here. I helped raise my niece because her dad was a lousy father when she was little, so I miss her a lot, and I want my niece to know my kids. Do I bother reaching out to my sister if my wife doesn't want anything to do with her anyways? I feel bad that my kids will miss out on time with cousins and family events because my wife doesn't want them around my sister. But I also completely understand the reasoning behind it. We don't live nearby anymore, so at this point, it's more of a once, twice a year or big family event issue. Side notes: my family is Islamic, and it's common within the family to try and mend relationships, no matter the issue. For example, cheating and domestic A isn't a reason for divorce. Divorce is allowed, but strongly discouraged and looked at as shameful for a woman. Such nonsense. I do not follow same practices and do not condone the behavior. My wife and I also do not tolerate abuse. My wife and I also do not tolerate A or allow children to witness such incidents. Having grown up with my sister and continuously experiencing her episodes throughout her adolescent years, I'm more accustomed to her craziness and behavior than my wife. My mother supports any decision that we decide to do, but constantly tries to mend the relationship between both parties because she thinks life is too short, even though she really does not speak to my sister and has said she believes she needs to be medicated. It's not that you're accustomed to your sister's poor behavior. It's that you've at some level accepted it. She's worn you down, and you've lowered your standards. Your wife is still acting like a rational person. You are acting like a hostage to family. Be the husband your wife deserves. Stand up to your sister, and don't let her hateful comments slide by. Edit. I will never accept my sister's apology as a whole. Rather, I would have very specific clauses where I would accept a mutual relationship between her and I for the sake of seeing my niece, who I love and care for. I also believe I can attempt and maintain a mutual relationship with her, where I could speak to her and allow her to let her child come see us in another state. If I don't do anything now, I may not have the chance again until the child is 18 and old enough to make her own decisions. I never got along with my sister. Her apologies are shallow and are probably coming because of selfish reasons. My idea of peace offering would be amongst myself and her, and I would never forgive her. I know I can hate her guts, but be civil enough to be in the same room with her without getting raged. And her tempers do not scare me, because I know her weaknesses come through her words and actions, which makes me sad. I do believe I've been accustomed to accept her as she is, because she has done the same with me throughout my childhood. So I'm not saying my wife do the same. I would never ask her to. Wife here. I helped write this post, so it's from our collective perspective. I don't ever feel pressured from my husband to build a relationship with my crazy sister-in-law. I suggested we post something so he could see the outside perspectives, because people within his family are all enablers. My husband is extremely supportive, kind, and patient. I know his heart is breaking for a relationship with our niece, and so is mine, because we were very involved in raising her since she was little. I feel pressure from other people in his family, but we don't see them very often, and I'm not a delicate flower. I tell them very clearly how I feel about her and why I don't want our kids around her, unless she gets mental help. I am 25 male, and my brother is 19. He's always been a pathological liar and a narcissistic person, and that is no small part due to my parents. When I was growing up, my brother was the golden child, and I was the scapegoat for everything he did. My parents refused to take my diagnosed autism into account for anything, and as such, a lot of the help and guidance I needed growing up, I didn't get until I was older. My brother was allowed to annoy and piss me off as much as he wanted by calling me names, messing with my stuff, or otherwise inconveniencing me. And if I gave a reaction or tried to prevent it, then I was the one punished for being immature and giving him a reaction. And said, "When will you ever learn to just ignore him? Then he'll stop." Yeah, I tried that, but he never let up. My parents and brother were emotionally A for a number of other ways, and I likely will be in therapy for the rest of my life due to having such a crappy childhood. I got a job at 16 and saved up enough money at 19 to where I could room with 3 other people as I was in college, and left on my brother's 13th birthday, ignoring multiple phone calls and texts, at first begging me to come back, but then telling me I'm a terrible son. I haven't spoken to them in 6 years. That is, until I got a phone call today from my mom. I picked up thinking she wanted reconciliation, but then learned that my brother got arrested, and if convicted, he could face some serious jail time. I can't go into specifics, but I definitely know it's a result of the crappy behavior my parents cultivated in him. And then my mom asked if I could meet up with them somewhere soon and reconcile and be a family again. I told her no, that she is the reason why my brother did what he did and got arrested and is now looking at the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. That I do not want a relationship with them ever again, and that they now only have one son, and he is behind bars, never to come out. I hung up once she started whining. I got spammed with multiple voice and text messages of her screaming and whining at me, to where I had to block her number. I then got calls and texts from other family members saying I am in the wrong and that family is family, no matter what, and I need to suck it up. One of them even suggested I show up to the court date. I ended up having to block more family members than just my mom because I'm flustered right now. Since the last time I've posted this, they found other ways to get into contacting me, including messaging me via my social media accounts, LinkedIn, old email address I use for archival purposes, etc. The messages will not stop coming, and I am almost at a ducking breaking point. I'm not sure what I can do to tell these people to duck off and die in a hole. I would contact the police and let them know that people with a history of A are harassing you, and or get a lawyer, and or start getting official-looking cease and desist letters to send back to these people threatening legal action. Continue not knowing these people, as they're obviously not good for you. Continue not knowing these people, as they're obviously not good for you, your health, or your future success, and you owe them nothing. Good luck. I am 20 female. I have 3 siblings, 27 male, 25 male, and 20 male. Since my father remarried, I also have a half-brother, 16 male, Tom, and an adopted sister, 10 female. My 3 older brothers are all in the military, to my stepmother's disapproval. She has always wanted them to pursue an actual career. On the other hand, Tom is a brilliant student, a talented violinist, very handsome and charming, and wants to be a lawyer in the future. And for these reasons, he has always been the golden child in our family. When we were growing up, everything he did would be praised ad nauseum. It made the rest of my siblings feel neglected. During arguments, my father would always side with my stepmother and Tom. I guess I've always suspected that Tom was the favorite, but my father would reassure me that he loved all of us equally. So I didn't really let it bother me. But it was frustrating and upsetting to be constantly compared to your younger brother. A few days ago, my dad and I had gotten into an argument about my university grades. I told him that I had no interest in my program, finance, and was thinking of transferring into something different I was better at. He accused me of being lazy and not trying hard enough, although I told him that I had tried my best. We made up later, but it's still kind of tense between us. Last night, Tom had come home from boarding school. He was showing them his exam scores, and they were all really good, as usual. I was in the kitchen making a snack, but they did not know I was in there. After my parents had done congratulating him on his grades, I heard my father chuckle and say, "And that's why you're our favorite." My stepmother laughed and said something like, "That's for sure." After I heard that, I went up to my room. I tried not to let his words get to me, but it was crushing to hear that my parents had a favorite. I mean, although I'd always suspected it, it's something else to hear one of them say it so definitively. I guess I'm just looking for advice on how to cope with this reality, that my parents will never love me or my siblings as much as my younger brother, and how to prevent feeling bitter towards him. I also wonder whether I should tell my father that I heard what he said, and explain to him how much it hurt me. Or should I just ignore it and never bring it up? I don't think it's about love. I think it's about ease of parenting. He is their favorite to parent. He's the easy one who does all the things they easily appreciate, so that makes sense that he is their favorite to parent. That does not mean he is their favorite to love. I definitely think you need to tell your dad you overheard that and it hurt your feelings. Leaving that bottled up without giving him a chance to express love for you and help you feel better is a recipe for disaster and long-term trauma. My female 26, fiance, male 28, have been together for 4 years. He's been friends with Maya, female 30, for 6 years. They're fairly close, but she doesn't like me much. It's usually not an issue. Some people just don't mesh. We don't mesh. Edit to add. There's no heavy animosity, and we can be near each other fine. We just don't talk when we are. We don't actively hate each other, just prefer not to hang out together. She isn't against us getting married and likely would say yes to being a bridesmaid to make him happy, but isn't pushing it for herself. We're recently engaged, and he'd like for her to be a bridesmaid. I don't. He wants her in a dress matching my bridesmaids. On my side, participating in the thing we're doing. I said absolutely not. She doesn't even like me. I've seen wedding photos where one bridesmaid clearly doesn't want to be with the bride, and I don't want that. Plus, I really only want the women closest to me as bridesmaids. I suggested she wear a black dress to match the men's tuxes and be a groomsman. He said that will look dumb, and he doesn't want to do that. Because he's dead set against including her on his side with the men and their activities, and I'm dead set against having her with me and my bridesmaids. He said I've effectively said she can't be in the wedding. I argued he's just as much at fault for not budging as I am, but he said I'm the one being unreasonable. Mind you, his only reason for not wanting her with his groomsmen is, "That's dumb, just let her be a bridesmaid." Am I the a-hole for not budging and basically keeping her out of the wedding party, according to my fiancé? Not the a-hole. It's his friend. She should be on his side. Maybe he's trying to force this on you to make you two get along. But that's such a bad idea that definitely won't work. Don't budge, OP.